every year the Liberals make it harder and harder for the next government to bring back to balanced budgets.
And I would add into that there'll be little patience from citizens to say we're going to take 10 years to do it.
Yes, I agree. And rightly so, because a deficit today means taxes tomorrow.
Right.
And it's not just. I have 5 children, and I would never dream of leaving them my debt. Quite the contrary. We plan and we save and we hope to leave our kids.
I have a 6-year-old who's in debt, so
yeah,
which is nothing to do with me.
Right. Yeah. None of us in this room would just leave credit card bills to the next generation. We do the opposite. We put money aside. We have insurance policies. We pay off our mortgage, and we have estate planning to give something to our kids where possible. And yet we have a federal government that does the exact opposite, that reaches into the future, that borrows money from future generations, spends that today. And for what? The Liberals promised that they were going to spend our way into economic activity through infrastructure. They've actually cut infrastructure. There's actually less money flowing out the door, fewer projects underway than under our government. So we got the worst of both worlds, less infrastructure activity and bigger deficits. That has a major impact on the economy. As interest rates go up, more and more of your tax dollar will go to pay banks and bondholders and investors who buy Canadian government debt. The U.S. Treasury yield is already on its way up. It's almost doubled in the short term. That's going to have an impact on Canadian debt as well. How to get back to balanced budget? That should have been the $10 billion question. It's now the $18 billion question, because that's the size of the federal government deficit this year. There are a lot of decisions that the government has taken that we would never have pursued. For example, the Canadian Infrastructure Bank. Over $10 billion of federal tax dollars backstopping private investment in the infrastructure field. Essentially what that is transferring the risk onto taxpayers and the reward onto private companies. Now, Conservatives believe in partnering with the private sector when it comes to infrastructure. We had the Public-Private Partnership Fund that did the exact opposite. We allowed private companies to enjoy the rewards if they assumed the risk. So they had to agree to timelines and budgets, and if they met them or exceeded them, they got the benefit. And Canadian taxpayers got the benefit of having a project delivered on time, on budget, knowing that any cost overruns would be borne by the investors. That's the proper model. The Liberals are doing something completely upside down, where they're saying taxpayers will backstop any project failure, and private companies get all the benefit. They've also announced their decision to put Canadian tax dollars into the Asian Infrastructure Bank, which will actually fund infrastructure projects in other countries. Not a single kilometer of road will be built here in Canada. Those are some big ticket items that we would address. We would not pursue those things, and that would free up dollars to bring us back to balance. And then there's lots of little things. The $8 million hockey rink that you couldn't play hockey on in front of Parliament Hill, just a few hundred yards away from the longest skating rink in the world, which we have to walk by it every day. The amount of heavy equipment that's on the front lawn, undoing all that, it's just unbelievable. I'm sure when the final costs come out, it'll be even higher. So a combination of small, wasteful, stupid decisions by this government, as well as some big ticket items that we just have a fundamental different approach, and I'm confident that we'll be able to get back to balanced budgets.
Okay.